Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. From Studio Animal House, and it really is an animal house today, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Studio 7, and it really has a dog named Seven in it, I'm Tom Merritt.
From just regular old Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
DTNS Live is made possible by its listeners. Thanks to all of you, including Chris Allen, Reed Fischler, Larry Bailey, and everybody. Welcome our new patrons, Vicente, Eric, Robin, and Carlos.
Yay!
The Fantastic Four.
The Fantastic Four. Yeah, what do you guys get? What are your superpowers? Let us know. Or, I don't know, maybe everybody else can give them superpowers.
What was the best superpower of the Fantastic Four?
I know there's a new one coming out this summer, but I don't remember the powers.
Either you're the Human Torch, you're
right.
Sue Storm.
Oh, so you can
Woman,
just set yourself on fire.
And then you have the Thing, who's just a giant moving boulder, and then you have Mr. Fantastic, who's super stretchy.
Yeah. So you can stretch.
And what
you
was
can be invisible.
Oh, invisible.
You can be a rock person.
I think invisibility is that would
the
be
invisibility
the superpower
and then over the years they made it more of a force field too, so she can protect things.
Yeah, you could just you would just know all the hot goss if you were invisible.
Yeah,
and then tell all the other people here's what you have to burn down.
That's your secret identity, a gossip reporter.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to upset anyone.
Okay, go ahead.
The Fantastic Four superpowers were just. They were kind of trash compared to others.
You're like, they're mid.
They really were.
Well,
you don't want to upset anyone.
Listen, when you need the word fantastic in your name, you know you're making up for something.
I don't know. I thought that original series was fun, and
the Genial Four.
I'll watch the next one. Anyway, we're not going to be talking about Fantastic Four throughout the show today. Who knows? May come back up. You never know. Maybe. But it is DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the tech news of the day to help us all understand it a little bit better. How we all doing today?
Well, our StreamYard instance is a little buggy, but we are persevering, and otherwise I'm good.
Good. Yeah, tech issues, it happens, especially when you do a show with a bunch of remote folks who are on live on video.
Not remote emotionally, just we're not in the same room.
we need some way to be able to take the cartridge out, shake it on our, tap it on our knee and then blow on it. I don't know how we can do that with StreamYard, but that's what it feels like we need today.
Oh my gosh, we have a commenter on LinkedIn. Hey, Russell. Nice to see you there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because we stream LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. That's why we use StreamYard. So good to see the LinkedIn crowd represented today. Very nice.
Indeed, it is. Speaking of the crowd, if you are listening live, you can name this episode. Lots of you already know how to do this, but if you'd like to join in on the fun, head over to dtns.showbot.tv to submit a title on Vote on Others. Throughout the show, people have all sorts of ideas based on the topics that we go through. And then we check back on the votes at the end of the show. All right, speaking of the show, let's kick it off with the top 3 stories of the day.
WA Beta Info has found some hidden screens. That's what they do in the beta of WhatsApp for iOS that show how to create a unique WhatsApp username. That's right. WhatsApp never supported usernames, but in October, the WhatsApp team said it was planning usernames, so you no longer have to share your phone number in order to be in contact with someone. This indicates that we're getting closer to that actually becoming the case, which would be nice because Signal, even Telegram, you don't have to use your phone number. So I don't know why WhatsApp took so long to do this.
I welcome it. I welcome it because it's just like I don't like giving everybody WhatsApp just because I don't want to give everybody my phone number. So
I've not used WhatsApp with some things. I think businesses or something because I don't want them to have my phone number.
Right.
Well, good news for some folks on Android. Adobe launched Photoshop for Android. This is a free beta version. It's probably not going to be free for that long, but it is free for now with some core desktop tools like layers, masks, generative AI features, filters, and some content-aware fill missing for now. But the app does support subject selection, object removal, a lot of people like that, and image generation from text prompts. Adobe hasn't exactly explained how long it's going to be free, but one would assume that Creative Cloud subscriptions will probably be the required venue post data.
At some point, that's going to happen.
Yeah, like I don't think it's happening tomorrow, but yeah, if you're on Android and you want Photoshop on your Android device, you get it.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah. So, folks, my top story was about Google and PayPal. So Google is ending PayPal integration in Google Wallet in the U.S., meaning that after June 13th, you'll no longer be able to use a PayPal account as a payment option. Now, this didn't really come as much of a surprise because Google axed the ability for you to even link a PayPal account to your Google Wallet back in April. But they're really not telling us why they're doing this. There is a bit of speculation, though, that in I believe it is in Germany, PayPal actually now has a contactless app, so it's competing with Google Wallet. Maybe that's why they're doing it here. We don't know that to be the case, but it's just kind of strange that they're doing it. This one personally affects me because I probably have 3 accounts in my Google Wallet. So I'm going to have to figure something out. I think I can actually take the credit cards because I do have debit cards for each of these accounts and then add those to Google Wallet and I should be fine. But yeah, I got to jump through some hoops now.
Why wouldn't they remove PayPal as an option in Germany if it's the German launch of the PayPal thing? They're doing it in the US.
That is the question.
They're keeping PayPal as an option in Germany. So, yeah.
Maybe there's a separate deal with PayPal that they have.
Yeah. It's weird.
Maybe unrelated to the German thing.
More questions than answers.
The answer may surprise you.
I don't use Google Wallet, but I was getting, because my Google account and my PayPal account were linked, in some way. And over the last few months, I was getting various emails from Google saying, just a reminder, after this date, some of your PayPal stuff won't work on Google. And I was kind of like, I use PayPal regularly. So, but I use it as a standalone app or, on the desktop. So I was like, I don't really,
I bet it's
I'm not totally sure what's going on here.
PayPal Google dispute in the US. Probably doesn't have anything to do with the Germany thing.
What I hope is that PayPal doesn't get in their fields and then they prevent you from adding the debit card to Google Wallet, because that would suck.
Yeah. The PayPal debit card, right? Because that's like MasterCard branded.
It's just a debit card, but that's what my option is now. I want to go add my cards because I do actually use those accounts. So we'll see.
All right, Tom, Rob, and I all picked our top stories of the day, but we have more to discuss. Let's get into it. TikTok is rolling out its Manage Topics feature globally, which lets users adjust how often they see videos from certain top categories. Think sports or travel or humor or creative arts or dancing on their For You page. Everybody's For You page is obviously supposed to be a representation of you, very, very personal, based on what you've watched before and what you might want to watch in the future. The platform also expanded its keyword filters using AI to block related terms, now supporting over 200 keywords per user. So for some reason, there was a term that you said, block this term if it's in a title. That could also apply to a hashtag or a user's name type thing. Changes may take some time to reflect and, again, only affect the For You feed at this point. Now, I don't use TikTok as much as the next person. I don't know how much any of us uses TikTok. Tom, you probably do more than anybody else. But I check in every so often. It's usually because somebody sends me a specific video. They think I'm going to think it's funny. I click on it, and then my For You page gets really weird because I just don't use it enough to be curating all that stuff on my own. However, for that reason, so this morning when I was like, let's see what's going on my For You page. I mean, it made no sense. None of the stuff I wanted to see. I understood why some of the stuff was being served to me because I'm like, I watched that one video a while ago, and now it's just throwing, all these. I don't even want to talk about the videos that I was getting, but just stuff where I'm like, this is why I don't like TikTok. This is exactly why I don't like TikTok. I don't belong here. This is not my For You page. So I think this is a step in the right direction. You go into settings. I did this morning, and you add some search terms that you don't want to see. So you're filtering stuff out. You're not filtering stuff in.
Yeah, I think the keyword thing is useful. I don't understand why it's support for keywords. Like, why couldn't you just make it any word? But that's better than the managed topics. I'm looking at the managed topics. There's like, I don't know, there's like 12 of them, maybe a few more. Pets, sports, travel, nature, lifestyle, humor, health and fitness, food and drinks, fashion, beauty, dance, current affairs, creative arts. It's not that many. And then I can say, give me more of this or less of it. I can see why this is sort of useful in saying like, oh, I'm really into these. Give me more of those, or I'm not into this at all. Make sure that never shows up by accident.
Right.
But this isn't really control. Like, I'm not sure that I'll ever end up using this, to be honest.
It's the appearance of control, it seems like.
Yeah.
I am someone who doesn't use TikTok really at all. The only reason I even have a TikTok account is because when my youngest child wanted to have a TikTok when she was still in grade school, middle school, or whatever, it must have been maybe middle school or high school when she wanted to get an account, I signed up an account just so I would know what it was that she would be looking at. But I would always go and look at it and think, yeah, this isn't for me. And then I would bounce out. And I don't even have, at this point, the application installed on my phone. But I wonder if for someone like me, if I were to install the app and then I can immediately go pick, even if it's only like 12 different categories. Okay, well, give me this, give me this, give me this. Would it maybe keep me on the platform a little longer than what it does now? Because my only interaction with TikTok now is when TikToks make it over to some other social media platform that I actually use. And I just watch those videos there without being able to comment or anything like that back on TikTok. Like I said, I just don't use it. So I wonder if this would, make me a little bit more obliged to use the system.
You guys just aren't using TikTok enough. I say that half jokingly, but the more you use it, the better it gets. Like if you're not using it all the time, it will, the next time you pick it up, throw some random stuff because it's like, I don't know, you haven't been here in a while. Let me just try some stuff.
Okay.
And that could turn people off. I totally get that.
It's also, there are, for example, just this morning, there were a couple of videos where I was like, yeah, this is not a person I'm going to follow or, an account I'm going to follow. But it's like, wow, this is a rando thing I never would have seen otherwise. But you're absolutely right, Tom. It's meant to, you're supposed to be constantly curating yourself.
Yeah,
so that your For You feed ends up being like an extension of you and your interests.
The ones that you spend more time on, that's what everybody says is the brilliance of TikTok, is that you don't have to do anything and it can learn what you like. So it is odd to see TikTok going like, well, I know that's our secret sauce, but we'll let you mess with it. Like, that supposedly what they do well is feed you the things you like, but maybe sometimes we don't like things about ourselves and the TikTok knows. I don't know.
I wonder.
Also, it's like, when you hate watch things, everybody does that. It's like you're just like, what a jerk, can't stand this. It's like now TikTok's like, well, I hate watching and still watching.
Watch the whole thing. Let me show you more of this.
Yeah.
I wonder though because everybody else is trying to steal TikTok's juice on their algorithm to where you don't have to follow someone. It'll just kind of figure out what should be in your feed. I wonder if they're saying, well, everybody else is taking our stuff. Maybe we should dip into what Instagram and Facebook and other platforms are doing, just in case there are some users who like being able to say, I want to look at this. I want to look at that. I want to look at the other. But it looks like they're not really all in because it's so limited on what you can choose.
Yeah, maybe it's them saying, our algorithm is too good, and people have fled to other platforms in some cases. Not because this is everywhere around the world, right? It's not just the U.S., or it could just be PR if they're like, fighting all these battles to try not to get banned. There's still a ticking clock on them in the United States. They may want to do this to show like, hey, we're trying to help people control what they see. So we're not trying to push a particular agenda on them.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of that going
so
on
it's like that elevator button that doesn't do anything, but people still press it.
In some places it actually works, and it's amazing. The closed door button. So many places in the U.S., you hit the closed door button, nothing happens. It's shocking when I go to a place and I hit the closed door button and the door starts closing. I'm like, oh,
it's there to make you feel like you're you have some agency.
I thought it was
even
just
though-
that some of them were on a bit of a delay.
That's what they want you to think, Sarah.
The
I'm
appearance.
sure
Why?
if you-
Okay.
It's all
I don't know.
psychological.
Elevator
I don't know.
conspiracy theorists
Yeah,
in
yeah.
here today. All right. Yeah.
Big Otis.
Yeah. Right. All right, Rob. How big of a deal is it that Nintendo isn't sending out pre-launch Switch 2 units before its launch on Thursday, and who does this affect?
It's definitely a big deal for the folks who review Switch 2 units. They are not happy about this at all. I'm not so sure, however, how big of a deal is it for the folks who will be buying the Switch 2. So Nintendo says it's not providing pre-launch units for review because, quote, important features and updates, end quote, that would only be available via day one systems, via a day one system update. So basically they're saying we're going to push some stuff out on day one, and it's so, comprehensive that we just can't allow you to test this stuff up front. The reviewers, magazines, people who write about Nintendo, who write about games, they are not happy. They're not feeling this at all. This is the first time that Nintendo has done this in over 20 years. And what makes it even different than what happened 20 years ago is that before, when they didn't send review units out, they allowed people to come in and actually play with them, inside of a specific location. They're not even doing that. So, as I said, I don't know that this is really going to affect people who are getting day ones. If you're a day one person, you've already pre-ordered it, you're already all in. And if you really think about it, if people don't have review units to get, there's going to probably be an increased number of folks who want to get it so that they can get their review before all the ones that generally would have been under embargo come out. So, like I said, it is definitely an issue for people who do the reviewing. I wonder how much of an issue it is for the people who actually just want who just want to Switch 2, because I don't think that a lack of review is going to do anything for anyone who was already purchased it and was going to get it day one anyway.
Yeah, it appears to be a good seller from by all accounts.
This is an embarrassment of riches for Nintendo. They have huge demand, limited supply. Giving out review units is totally optional at this point. Like, you're going to sell them anyway. Do you really need someone to post a review on it before it launches? I mean, you obviously have the demand. It doesn't affect them.
If I'm Nintendo's marketing department, I want there to be good reviews out there, even if they're selling as many as they could make. So the only reason to do this, and the reason they're giving of like, we have a big update coming on day one, is that there are some showstopper bugs that they think they've fixed, but they do not want those in the press, giving them bad press before this launch.
That is the only thing that makes sense to me, because it only helps Nintendo to get these in the hands of all the people who are going to reviewing them. Because when it comes to Nintendo stuff, the reviewers are fans of Nintendo, as well. These folks really want Nintendo to do well. And, there's a lot of nostalgia there. These are the devices that a lot of folks, that was like their first game console when they, when they were a kid. It's a big deal to get it out. But I do wonder, what is Nintendo's responsibility to the industry to say, hey, we need to help you help us? Like I said, there's a lot of folks who are mad, but I don't know that it's going to mean one nickel of difference to Nintendo in the beginning, unless things come out and then it's the people who get them day one, they start doing the reviews and then they trash it. Maybe that could slow down people from buying it. But my gut tells me Nintendo is a big enough company. They're a good enough of a company that they would get that stuff fixed by wave two. Usually they get that stuff, addressed pretty quickly. So I just don't know that this matters to anyone who's not actually doing a review.
And
I don't think it matters to anybody who's not doing a wreview. I mean, sure, people read trusted reviews from, folks who do, gadget and software reviews. I can see how frustrating this would be for somebody who is usually going to get a unit ahead of time and is like, oh man, that's a lot of page views. This is part of my deal. And at the same time, again, it's like, if Nintendo was like, we're so confident that we're going to sell out, and also might be a couple glitchy things that we just don't want to throw anybody off the scent. Just no reviews.
Well, this is the thing. They have really only things to lose if they do allow early reviews of the product. I mean, they already have the mind share, and they already have the expectation because of the name. So, I mean, I think they're
yes,
playing it pretty,
but that's also true of every release, and they still give pre-release review units usually, not just Nintendo, but other companies, right? It's not a natural convention to say like, oh, we're selling these so well, we won't give review units.
Well, no.
So to me, there's got to be more than just there's nothing to lose. There's got to be there is something to lose if you give these out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They have only to lose if they in other words, they reduce the amount of bad publicity if they just hold on to it and not
that's what there's something they're trying to hide by doing this, because if they were confident that there wouldn't be negatives in these reviews, they would be out there pushing it, because the more marketing the better, the more demand the better. It's not like they're
already shipping out of stock signs, right? As well as,
and they don't want anything to slow that momentum down.
Nothing is going to slow that down. Definitely with Nintendo, I think it's probably the case with Xbox and PlayStation as well. They come out with a new one, day one people are going to buy it regardless of what any review said. I cannot fathom that a Chris Ashley wouldn't get the next Xbox simply because the next Xbox comes out. I cannot imagine that in our world, that he would not buy it regardless of what was said with it. Now, he might get it and be upset and be the one saying, yeah, for you regular folks, you might want to hold off on this. But for him, he's a day one. He's going to have that thing the moment that he can get it. And I think that there are more people that are like that about Nintendo stuff than there are about Xbox or PlayStation. So I think this is one of those situations where we can get away with it this time. So let's just not have any bad publicity and let's just go ahead and get this thing right. So we're going to push this update out on Thursday and let's hope for the best. I think that that's kind of the track that they're taking.
The good news for the reviewers is they are released from the embargo game. The game often is the reviewer gets the unit, they talk to their representative at the company that gave them their unit, and the company representative says, look, you're getting the pre-release software. There's a couple bugs in there. We appreciate it if you downplay them, or at least mention that those are going to be fixed in an update real soon, that make sure it's clear that you've got a review unit. You see that happen all the time. Well, now every one of these reviewers is released from having to think about that. They can be as honest as they want and not have to make any excuses about, well, we got a pre-release unit, so maybe this won't. It's going to be like, if there's something wrong, it's wrong, and they can hammer Nintendo on it. So that's the downside of this for Nintendo.
And that will happen if there are, because I think that people who are reviewers, and this is what they do for a living, they've got journalistic integrity. They're not going to bash it unless it needs to be bashed.
Definitely.
But there's folks out there who are going to get it, and if it's not on par, like, I don't write about this stuff every day, but because the algorithm is going to allow me to be up there with Kotaku and stuff like that, I'm going to give Nintendo everything that I'm feeling right now and have the opportunity to maybe get to the top of a list for people searching for this. So I think that you will see an enormous amount of negative feedback if there's anything negative to say about the Switch 2.
And there won't be any modifying of it or saying this was bad, but Nintendo told me this is pre-release. There's no excuses now.
No, it'll be this was trash. Nintendo never should have released it. I can't believe that they would do this to their that's what that's what it would be.
Nintendo has this weird ability to have a lot of excess slack when it comes to gamer goodwill, which
they used to.
Yeah,
till today.
We'll see.
You're right. There's a lot built up, and people won't want to trash that relationship.
I mean, the thing is, they've had issues before. The Wii U, even at like the way the Wii U ended, there was still enough goodwill in there for people to stump up and buy a Switch. Like there was. I mean, like,
that's different than the reviewer goodwill, though. That's public.
Yeah, and it's kind of that's a different discussion. But the day of the reviewer being king, I think, is slowly coming to an end.
Yeah, honestly, I don't mind. If every product got its reviews on day one and everybody was getting a unit that they could be honest about, and there wasn't this industry of it influencing, it might be better for consumers.
It probably would be, but the problem is that there's money involved, because if you get those day ones, you can get your review out before everybody else, and that means you're going to get the clicks. So, folks, you can join in the conversation in our Discord, which you can join by linking a Patreon account at patreon.com/DTNS.
So I haven't dropped a smartphone in a large body of water in some time, but I
How long has
certainly
it
have
been,
in the
Sarah?
past. Not as panic-inducing as it used to be, but we might have picked up some perhaps inaccurate beliefs about how waterproof our devices are, right, Tom?
Yeah, so Indiana University professor Rachel Plotnick wrote an article for The Conversation about myths related to your devices getting wet. Used to be, you thought if your device got wet, it was toast, right? But now people understand, like, oh, there's things you can do about it, right? Or, oh, mine has this IP waterproof rating. I'll be fine. So I figured we should go through the 5 myths that Professor Plotnick identified and kind of discuss whether we believe her or not, whether we're worried about this or not, and see where we end up. First one is, if it gets wet, but you turn it on, you're good. You don't have to worry about it, right? Professor Plotnick says, not so fast. If it got wet and turns on, that's great, but there still could be water inside there. It's just not preventing it from turning on, and that could be corroding your device and shortening its life.
This actually happened to me once.
Oh, yeah?
It was, I think it was the last iPhone accident that I've had. Knock on wood, everybody. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But there have been a few. And my screen was cracked already, and I was just living with it because I didn't have Apple Care.
I remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like a science experiment. Like, how long can it go? And then I dropped it in water. I don't even remember the situation. The toilet, sink, who knows? And got it right out, and I was like, oh, it's toast, because it's already, it's open, basically.
Right, because it's got cracks, yeah.
You could see part of the circuit board. That's how bad it was. and it worked until it just went down forever. And when it finally went down forever, I was like, yeah, there's nothing to do here. There's no fixing of this. I had taken it too far. But it did work for like a couple hours after that. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
is it just a bionic phone that can't die? No, it died.
Professor Plotnick is saying, like, it could work for weeks, maybe even months. But
Yeah.
you might want to get it looked at. Sorry, Rob, you got one
Oh,
more? on this
no.
one?
Go ahead. I was going to read number 2, but I'll let you do it.
Number 2, it's waterproof, right? So there you get that IP rating. And by the way, if you don't know, the IP rating has a number for dust resistance and then a number for water resistance. Those water resistance numbers aren't, this is superhumanly proof against water. An IP rating of 1 is protected against vertically falling water drops. Those water drops come in at an angle, all bets are off. Number 9 is it's protected against high pressure and high temperature water jets. So you could freaking throw the what's that thing you clean your driveway with? The
Pressure washer.
Pressure. You could pressure wash and it should be fine. I don't see any IP9 rated phones out there, but maybe they exist. There's also MIL-STD-810 That's even more complicated. There's ISO ratings, which apply to watches. But you should look at your IP rating and not just say, well, it says it's waterproof. It must be waterproof, because if that IP rating is like even 3, that's just protected against spraying water. It's not even protected against water jets or splashing water. And only 7 is protected against temporary immersion, not continuous immersion, so it'll only last for a little bit of time. Waterproof does not mean it'll never have a negative effect on water.
I think people miss out on the fact that of the water pressure, right? As you go far, like in a pool, the water pressure increases, and so the force on the seals around the phone also increased. So it's like my youngest daughter. She took my Pixel 3, and she disappeared. And I knew I should have chased after her when she did it. And I got up like really late, like the lazy dad, and I found out she dropped it in the tub with my oldest daughter was taking a bath. I said, "Oh, nuts!" So I fished it out, and I tried using it. It was working like Sarah. And then I took some pictures, and other than the fact that the pictures looked like they were fogged over, it was fine, and it worked. It worked for like 6 months.
Oh wow!
And then it stopped working. So I sent it into Google.
That's like number one, the corrosion. Something was happening on the inside.
I sent it into Google. It's like, oh, maybe they'll fix it, and if it's really broken, they'll give me a replacement.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. Hold on to that part of the story.
The ones that make me the ones that make me nervous is when it says that it's like it's watertight up to 1.5 meters for 28 minutes or 30. Usually it's like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's like, okay, do I have to set a timer so I could walk across the pool? Those are the ones that just, they make me nervous. So I tend to just not try to put
it's probably just better
water ever.
And number 3 on the list is that the IP ratings are determined by freshwater, not saltwater, not jacuzzi suds, not beer. So it depends on what you're dropping it in too.
Yes. Very true. I cannot remember what version of it was the iPhone that I had, but this is years ago, many years ago. And the phone had been submerged in water. And I took it into the Apple store, and I'm admitting this, took it into the Apple store, and I was like, phone, something's wrong with it. I don't know what happened. Can you just maybe, I don't know, fix it? Perhaps I could get a new phone, like something like that. And the guy, he kind of, goes to the back and comes back out, and he's like, this phone has been submerged in water. And I was like, it has? And he's like, yeah, it's like we do like a test, and like there's water in this phone, so can't help you. And I was like, how do they know?
There was a story about that. They actually had a little sensor thing, and it would turn a color if it got in touch with liquid. Yeah.
Well, because I think they were having so many people come in and be like, "Oh, we don't know what's wrong with the phone. Help!"
Well,
and they're like, "Well, it's in water, and you don't have a warranty."
So we have to jump to number 5 on Plotnik's list. We'll get back to number 4, but number 5 is that water damage is often exempt from warranty protection, and a lot of people don't think that's the case. They're like, well, it's broken, but I have a warranty. Almost always water damage is exempt. Unless you purchase, if you purchase a warranty, sometimes the purchased warranties will replace it because of water damage, but you got to read the one you're purchasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I sent my waterlogged phone, and I dried it off. I even let it sit outside, baking and nothing. And I said, I sent it in, waited a week, and they sent it back, and they had a little note, water damage.
Yep. They saw that indicator strip on the inside of your phone.
Yep.
So here's something else that you might want to keep in mind. So let's say that this is not water damage. Let's just say you crack your screen or something like that, and you go and you get your screen replaced. When you or something else is your charging port, something that you get replaced. If they repair it, it may no longer be watertight. Well, they're never watertight. It may no longer have the IP protection that it had before. So that's something you need to be very careful of, because it's like, I know someone who had to, get like their charging port, fixed, and it was just lightly raining. It wasn't raining hard, and they had their phone sitting on the table. So, let me grab that off, stick it in my pocket. They didn't even think anything of it, but water damage because the phone no longer had any type of water protection because of the new screen that they put on.
I mean, it really depends, because I took that Pixel 4 that Tom gave me. I took it in to get the battery replaced because the battery was swelling. And when the repair shop, I said, is this going to have the same IP rating that it comes in from the store? It's like, yeah. It's like, we're completely certified with Google to have it as originally all the original ratings. So anything a brand new Pixel 4 could withstand, this one would, and they would guarantee it. So I don't know if that meant they did good work, or a lot of people didn't check if they broke it, but I found it somewhat comforting.
Anyway, getting back to number 3, if it's IP rated, it's IP rated against freshwater. And different liquids may act differently, and it may not be resistant to those other liquids. We did number 5, which is warranty, so that leaves us with number 4. You can't fix it with rice. It just doesn't work as well as advertised. It might work in some cases, but the other side of it is that small bits of rice might get into your device, through the ports or something. Depends on your dust rating at that point, right? But it's not just the big grains of rice. If you're putting it in a bag of rice, there's small bits of rice that have turned into powder that are in there as well, and that could cause more problems in your phone.
True story. Another friend dropped their phone in water, put it in a bag of rice, didn't work, took it to the place, and the place said, "Oh, so you tried the rice trick. Doesn't work."
So wait, Rob, I have to ask you: is this friend Don Robwood?
He's trying to
No,
accuse
his friend
you
is
of being
Rod
the
Simmons.
friend, yeah.
Roderick Simmons. He is. It doesn't matter what the water rating is. If he gets near water, his phone's going to break.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think he went through 4 phones in probably 3 months because of water damage.
My goodness. Yeah.
Kids, he had young kids, so that was partially the problem. But it's like, why are you letting your young kids get access to your phone?
BioCal points out that if you wrap it in a paper towel, that might help keep the rice out of it. And the rice thing, if it's going to work, just needs to be in the same container. You don't have to actually surround the phone with rice, but it just doesn't tend to work all that often. So
the rice myth, I guess, semi myth, has been around for so long. That's never actually anything I tried, because I always felt like I feel like I'm just gonna make it worse somehow.
Yeah, I've tried it a couple times.
Too DIY,
and it has not worked.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully we all learned a little something today, and keep your phone safe, everybody, or your devices in general.
Yeah, don't dump them in water if you don't have to.
Right, yeah, only if you have to. All right, Roger, one of the defining habits in a lot of Reddit users is to look up another user's profile to see their post history, to kind of vet them, see what they're all about, what have they said in the past. But it sounds like that's changing.
Yeah, on Tuesday, today, Reddit announced a new content and activity setting, letting users to decide which of their subreddit, which posts and comments from a certain subreddit will appear on their profiles. Now, by default, Reddit will make all posts and comments visible to everyone, but users can either selectively display posts and comments from specific communities on their profile while keeping others hidden, or they can just kind of block all of it so you don't have anything. Now, the setting will appear under a new update and will be available under the, quote, curate your profile section, along with an option to toggle on or off not safe for work content, as well as activities and followers. That toggle switch will show or hide those who follow your the follower account for your account. I guess, but do you think this matters in the grand scheme of people Redditor behavior? And would it make it harder for people to kind of see if people are discussing topics, especially very sensitive topics, in good faith, where it's like, oh, oftentimes you go to one of these subreddits, I can tell by your posts that you're nothing but a troll or you're a bot, or, where people just sort of make cast incriminating or not incriminating not malpractice, but lack of goodwill in some of these discussions based on users' post history.
I think the upside of this needs to be focused on too, which is I have a profile that anybody can look at and see all my posts. I know also every one of my posts has my username next to it, but I have that one section that maybe I don't want all my friends and family to know I'm posting on. So let me keep that one away from my profile, because it's not like I don't think anyone will ever know that I post there, but I'd rather not it be front and center in the profile.
Yeah.
There's a legitimate reason for that.
I can see that being that would be a positive for some people. The other side of it is like, I don't know. I mean, in a bad scenario, it's like, oh, I thought I knew this person, or maybe we were dating, or I just had no idea that they were belonging to subreddits that really did not jive with what I want out of my life. It can feel sort of like smoke and mirrors, but at the same time, it does give you as a user more control over like, hey, I don't need to tell everybody what I'm doing every 5 seconds. Because we also feel that way about a lot of other privacy-focused things in our lives.
I can absolutely see times when you may not, you want to be anonymous to some things. So my question is, this is just hiding what you have commented on from your profile.
From your profile.
The comments are still there. And if somebody's reading the comment, they would still know that it was sent by you, right?
Yeah. It's just if I was to say like, what's Rob all about on Reddit, and gave it a look, you would have more control over what me on a quick scan would know about you.
Yeah. So if Rob is on a subreddit and posting things, let's say he's on, I don't know, he's on the Washington Commanders subreddit, and then he goes and he posts something on the Baltimore Ravens subreddit. The moderator of the Ravens subreddit can see that he posts on the Commanders, even though he's hidden it from his profile so that people don't know that he's a fan of 2 teams or something like that. Moderators can still see it. People on each of those subreddits can see that Rob's posting it. It's just his profile that he can say, you know what, don't show the Commanders ones, only show the Ravens ones. Not that you would post on either of those. It was a hypothetical. Yeah.
Well, I am a free agent. I will let you know by about the second quarter of the Super Bowl who I'm rooting for. But I would want to caution folks that may think that, well, if I'm hiding this, that it means it is hidden, because that's not what this means. It just means it's hidden from your profile. People who are in that subreddit absolutely want to see it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, working with Stephanie Humphrey, who, she is really into being private as you can on social media and being safe on social media. So I know she would say, folks, you got to understand that if you put it out there, regardless of what button you clicked, it can potentially come back to you. So unless you are 100% anonymous, you're not anonymous. And even then, so I'm just going to channel her a little bit and put that out there that you need to be clear on what you're doing. You're not hiding this from everybody. You're just hiding it from people who are looking specifically at your profile.
Yeah. Right. This is I don't want it to be obvious, not I want it to be unknown.
Right.
And
yeah, it's like if somebody was casually, like, oh, yeah, I think I might hire Sarah. Let's just sort of see what she talks about, what kind of person she is online. It's like you might go, well, maybe I'm like on some silly subreddits that I don't. It's not like I'm. It's like a huge problem that I'm on them, but I'm like, maybe it's just
you're applying for a job at the macrame shop, and you're also part of the I Hate Macrame subreddit. And,
yeah, I mean, all of this. There's a subreddit for everything, right? So this can be serious and this can be silly. If it's a serious thing that you don't want anyone to see, well, you better go back and delete those posts. And people do that all the time, and often it's too late. We see that all over the place, not just on Reddit. But this feels like I don't post on Reddit enough that this is something that I think I would use. But if you're on a lot of subreddits and you think, if someone was sort of like, I'm going to judge a book by its cover, meaning your profile, then you would have a little bit more control over what you'd like people to see.
Over what your book cover looks
like.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much harder it makes it to suss out trolls. I mean, I guess it could, if somebody's like, I'm only going to troll this one subreddit and then I'll hide it from my profile. Sure. But then they're probably not being trolly on your subreddit. If they're being trolly, they're probably being trolly everywhere, aren't they?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's, it's just part of the, at least in the subreddits I'm in, where the subreddit culture, just being able to see, eyeball it. Yeah. I mean, yes, the mods can see it, but there's a very sort of open-ended sort of like, I see it there. And so I make, whether or not rightly or wrongly, people make judgments on those. And it does sort of, I wouldn't say change, but it does color the conversation a bit, where you can see people who suddenly everyone starts ignoring, like just sort of get shunted with their one thread and everyone continues past them. I'm curious to know how this all turns out, because I could be totally wrong, and this could be the best thing to happen to Reddit since.
I honestly, having seen so many of these tempests and teapots over the years, I think this will end up having no effect. Some people will use it, and most people will forget it's even a thing.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Well, we love, whether you agree with us or not, to read your emails. So let's do that now in the mailbag.
Yeah, so we were talking about fake advertisements on Facebook from another emailer yesterday. And Tony wrote in about advertising and specifically fake advertising on platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Tony writes, they seem to be able to post adverts and content, and they do not seem to be responsible for most things shown on their platforms. They then show so many adverts to us to make the service unwatchable so that they can then charge people more money not to see these adverts. If these companies cannot properly control and monitor what they deliver to us, then perhaps they should not be allowed to do so. And then he goes on to talk about how television and radio have to be responsible for the advertising that they carry. It is my understanding that most countries restrict the number of advertisements shown to a certain number per hour, and they have to follow rules about what is socially acceptable. And he's like, why don't we have these kinds of rules for social media platforms as well? It seems somewhat unfair that older media companies have rules to follow while newer social media companies do not. It is little wonder they are unable to compete.
Yeah, you make some good points there,
Yeah,
Tony.
that's very, very good points.
Well, yes, sure.
Lies told.
I've seen these points a lot, and I think there's some misunderstandings that come behind this thinking, and not that Tony's wrong, but when we buy an ad on television, you talk to a salesperson. They know what the ad is. They get the tape or the file these days, and they see it before it plays. That's not what happens on social media platforms. If you were to make social media platforms look at every advertisement, have a person look at it, you would have no advertising on social media platforms. And maybe that's your aim, is like, great, then they shouldn't exist. But there would be so many businesses on the web that would not be possible. And it's not like there are no anti-fraud measures in place. It's the scale at which this advertising comes in is so big that bad actors are able to evade those anti-fraud situations. So I think we often set it up as like, well, television can keep the bad stuff out. Why can't social media? Because it's an entirely different business at an entirely different scale. And it's not like these companies are doing nothing to stop bad ads. It's that the bad actors, just like spam on email, you might ask, like, why can't email not have spam? Same answer. It happens at such high scale, and there's so many people working to try to get around the rules that a lot of bad actors do slip by.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense. It, like I said, I understand the point. I definitely understand what you're saying as well, Tom. So this is, it's one of those things to where I don't know that there's an answer.
Yeah. And you're perfectly well within your rights to believe that the platforms could be doing more. But I would encourage you to find out what they are doing and then criticize from there rather than just assuming they're doing nothing. Because they are more likely to listen if you actually know what they are doing and acknowledge it and saying, but I think you need to do more.
This is not, I'm not a social media network, but on not DTNS, but another podcast that I do, we run ads through an ad network. We don't look at the ads beforehand, and we do that on purpose, as we do here on DTNS as well. To separate church and state, and got an email from somebody, and they were like, I just think you should know that this ad played before your show. Is this what you want, And it was a political ad. I'll leave it at that. But no, it was not something that we would have wanted. And that was actually a setting that I could go in, which I hadn't ahead of time, and been like, we're not going to do anything in this category because somebody's going to be upset every single time that you do that. But it just, I was reminded that a lot of stuff just ends up being associated with content. Yeah. And because it's going on behind the scenes.
And it's happening at a scale on the internet, in not just on social media companies, but on every platform, in a way that humans just can't keep track of the way we used to keep track of them.
And you know what? It's about to get so much worse with
all
the VO, like all the AI generated ads. Facebook is already saying that they are going to start doing this stuff, completely automated. So yeah, strap in, folks. It's going to be fun. Mm-hmm. So, folks, you may have noticed yesterday and today that there are some differences in the show. And one of our listeners, watchers, Stealth Dave, wrote in, I enjoyed I enjoyed having the pre-show included in my feed for Monday's show. My office finally succumbed to a return to office mandate, so it's been harder to catch the live stream, but hearing the pre-show in the feed was like hanging out with old friends again.
Oh, yay. Stealth
yay.
Dave,
That's
we missed
awesome
you.
because
Yeah.
it was day one. And we're making these changes because we're trying to, give the show to the people the way the people want the show. So, Stealth Dave, thanks for letting us know. We really appreciate you, writing in and letting us know that the changes we're making are actually a pleasant thing for you.
And for anybody who's like, what changes? I didn't even notice anything different. I like the show. Don't change. We're not stripping the show down to its parts, and building back a whole different show. But what we are trying to do is let especially the live audience, but then the audience after the fact, just kind of in on more of our pre-show, our prep. We're all hanging out anyway. Why not? And we used to do more of that, and so we're going back to that, and that is based on all of your feedback. That's what you wanted more of. And we want more feedback. So send it our way. Do it now. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Now, we mentioned earlier in the show that we were taking your titles, and that was not a lie. BioCow and Zoe Brings Bacon are tied with the most votes for titles with You're Wetting It Wrong from BioCow. And Zoe Brings Bacon, You Can't Fix It with Rice.
Some of our titles lately, I'm just like, if somebody just glances at that because they weren't in on the choosing, like, you can't fix it with rice. What is the show going to be about today? And then they get to your segment, Tom, and they're like, a wet phone, right?
Clinton Woodward suggested, "What's in your wallet? Not PayPal."
It's a good
one. Zoe with, "Is your phone beer proof?"
Apparently not.
Yeah.
To this day.
So what do we go with, Sarah?
Don't submerge your phone in beer unless you're doing a science fair project. Yeah. We went with BioCows. You're Wetting It Wrong.
Thank you, BioCow.
Thank you, BioCow. And thanks to everybody for submitting and voting. We do it every day. It's fun stuff. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Now, we need to get better at acknowledging these things when they happen. But right after the show began, Laminar Rainbow gave us a super sticker. Always very appreciative of that. Thank you, Laminar Rainbow, for that. Thank you to our LinkedIn viewer as well, and anyone else who's watching us on LinkedIn. Big thanks to everybody watching us on Twitch. There's lots of ways to support us on Twitch. Beatmaster80 back for the 57th month at Tier 1. Good to see you, Beatmaster. 72nd month supporting us on Twitch. Zoe Brings Bacon gave us some bits. Churros y Palomitas. Dan Campos, good to see you back for the 34th month. PC Milesy with 50 bits. Nick with a C for the 21st month at Tier 1. Been subscribed for 35 months. Zoe Brings Bacon, 73 months at Tier 1. Zoe is amazing. Wrote Happy Taco Tuesday, by the way.
Oh my gosh, it's Taco Tuesday.
Indeed.
And I'm starving. So thank you, Zoe. That's a good reminder.
Yeah, big thanks for supporting us with the live ways, and patreon.com/DTNS. The majority way we're able to stay in business is Patreon. So if you're not a patron yet, go check it out. You get some extra shows and you get some extra perks, even some folks getting some merch for sticking with us. Go check it out. Patreon.com/DTNS. Do it now. Do it now.
Also, something you should do is join us on Apple Vision Show. If you're an Apple fan person, you know who you are, and that means that you're one of us. Each week, Eileen Rivera and I yak it up about the good, the bad, and more importantly, the future of all things Apple on Apple Vision Show. We are coming up on an exciting week next week, WWDC. We'd love to have you join us. So get subscribed now at applevisionshow.com. That's an order. You can watch us live. Yeah, we're lots of orders today. You can watch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC, right here on DTNS Live. And you can also find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Scott Johnson is back with us tomorrow, and we'll hopefully see you all then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.